your partner also subscribes to certain kind of value which you consider great, then conflict is unavoidable. You can see the Jewish-Christian dialogue, the Islamic-Christian dialogue often fails because of that. That's part of the reason. When you're able to listen to others, you allow the others to develop their own ideas, and sharing that without imposing your own view, then the dialogical civilization, dialogical encounter becomes possible. So in summary, this is how the system works. Well, system is the wrong word. This is how the particular style of moral reasoning unfolds. You can have many different meanings. Learning is for the sake of the self. So learning is character building. Learning is to realize our humanity. We are all human. So each one of us embodies humanity or elements of humanity. But we learn not to be human, but to be fully human. To be more human than we are. So we are what we are, human. But what we ought to be is a more enhanced, broadened, and deepened understanding of human. So this is what we try to become. And this learning is based upon two principles. One is the principle of reciprocity, I just mentioned. The other is the principle of total self-understanding. One is zhong meaning loyalty. Loyalty primarily is not loyalty to the ruler, to anyone else. Loyalty to yourself. You know the Chinese word, I don't want to get into etymology, but loyalty to yourself. Loyalty to yourself and considerate towards others. This constitutes the idea of humanity. All virtues in the Confucian tradition are linked with this idea of humanity. If you find one virtue that is not linked, there's something wrong with that virtue. For example, if rightness or legal ideas are not linked to humanity, humanity means sensitivity and sympathy, then the legal idea becomes harsh. If courage is not linked to sympathy and compassion and empathy, then courage becomes a form of bravery, which may also turn out to be very aggressive. If courtesy and civility is not linked to humanity, civility may become formalistic. For example, you go to the ritual, I may have mentioned, go to a morning ritual. Your feeling of sadness is much more important than your ability to follow all the rules in the game. If trust is not linked, then the trust is simply, they call it a small promise that you feel that you can never break. You make a promise, you shouldn't break it. This is the Kantian position, very, very important. Now, this to me is impractical. I promise you that I will give you some money, and I realize you're going to use the money for things that are totally undesirable. You use the money to buy weapons, use the money to buy opium, you use the money to bribe an official. I say, sorry, I'm not going to give you the money. I break my promise. Breaking a promise is the right way to do it. Right? I promise you I want to do something, and I don't follow through. And the reason is, if I follow through, the negative consequences will be grave. So I don't follow through, which is the right way of doing it. The government, for example, they build 3 gorges. That's disastrous. Recently, they also want to build something. Then a group of scholars and group of intellectuals got together. They allocated the money, get all the people, and begin the construction. Then the protest was so strong and the persuasion was so great that Wen Jiabao, the premier, decided not to do it. And normally in China, it's never been done. If you made up your mind and so you do it, but recently they changed it, they got all the praise. So my gosh, you listen to our voices. So that to decide to do something and don't do it is all right. So righteousness is the proper way. But the central idea is humanity. This is my position. It's not Fingeret's position. You should read Fingeret's. If sympathy is absent, then you are not truly human. Now, sympathy is a defining characteristic of being human, so it's possible for someone to be courageous without sympathy. But that courageousness will become eventually degenerate, a value degenerate into a disvalue. But to be humane, to be, to practice humanity without courage is unthinkable. So the sympathy that we're talking about is not our ordinary sense of sympathy. Often our sympathy is emotion. Emotion is different from rationality. This sympathy Confucius talk about is necessarily rational, necessarily righteous, necessarily civil. And so this value, which is the most important value, is the source of all other values. At the same time, all other values will enrich the meaningfulness and the rich content of this value. So one thing you need to do is to get a chance of what does it mean by humanity, by Ren. More than 104 occurrences, I'm told. And before Confucius, always this idea of ritual was more important. Confucius is the one who decided to focus attention on humanity. Why? Many other values would develop. Now that's only your way of getting into the text. Right? Then you need to expand it, and how this idea of humanity manifests itself. So it's not a definitional structure. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's not a definitional structure. It is a way of shooting an arrow. You hit the target and try to understand the situation from that point. You hit it, and the target is humanity. And try to read it and see whether you get some kind of coherent picture. You cannot define humanity. You cannot come up with a comprehensive treatise about humanity. You can feel it. You can personally understand it, and then you can work at it. All right, sorry. Next time, please let me know earlier.
If there's anyone who can't come to the 3 o'clock Friday section, please stay after class.
Okay, you're welcome.
Just raise your hand. Anyone who can't come to the 3 o'clock section?
And it's downstairs. A little bit, don't worry.
Okay, how about after that?
We're going to mention.
What were the sections that were decided?